Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, are WWE about to drop the PG rating for NXT?
Dax Harwood might have been KO'd at the end of the AEW Tag Team title match at Full Gear.
Jeff Hardy has some really weird character ideas.
And further updates on Kenny Omega's injury status. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
PG! Is it going away in NXT? Maybe. Possibly, potentially. WrestleVotes reporting last night that part of the original vision for the reboot of NXT into NXT 2.0 was to abandon the PG rating in favor of moving up to TV-14, which would theoretically allow for some edgier content. You can say bad words now, guys. You can do all that. USA Network, not opposed to this idea at the time, it's noted here. However, the change hasn't officially come into play yet. Of course, it's still a PG show, but it's still very much on the table. So potentially this is something we could see from the brand in the future. Now, we've kind of talked about this in the past. A few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago at this stage, there was a report stating that they wanted to appeal to younger viewers and be a bit edgier than the main roster, be a bit... How do you do, fellow kids? Vic Joseph sitting there in a denim jacket looking all
Cora
cool.
Jade not riding a skateboard. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, she's not exactly Tony Hawk, is she?
Nope.
Poor old Cora Jade. But yeah, there we go. So WWE, like, across its products, across its brands, has been a PG rating since July 2008. Advertisers, it's more friendly to them, etc., etc. Moving towards a more family-friendly style of programming. They've been TV-14 before. They switched there in 97, middle of the Monday Night Wars. WCW, they're being edgy, we can be edgy too, before moving back again 11 years later. So I don't know, I might argue that NXT 2.0 it's maybe already there, right?
You said this in the office earlier. I think you described it as the horniest show on television.
Like the increased sexualization of the women's division in particular is a sign of what you would expect from something moving from PG to TVMA. There's also some spicy language getting thrown around here and there as well. So yeah, I think it's already there, to be honest.
It's certainly on the road there, isn't it? It's not going to be suddenly like, well, I didn't see this coming. Like you say, you've got your toxic attraction or the way they're being presented. You've got a slight bit of effing and jeffing and a sprinkling of Scott Steiner references on the show as well. And yeah, I'm intrigued to see as to who the person they first really hand the mantle to of effing and jeffing. I hope it's Tony D'Angelo, of course. Or maybe he's just going to torture someone like The Sopranos on camera. But also, I'm not sure I've been telling you this actually, Andy. Further developments, the show's actually going to change yet again. It's going to go from NXT, of course, to NXT 2.0 to NXT 2.0. So look forward to that coming to your screens.
I look forward to the first episode coming up, that little TV-14 thing in the background. Johnny Gargano opened the show. Sup?
Sorry, by the way, my laugh sounds like I've spoken about 40
I'm sorry
a day
for
now.
doing that to you.
Right, let's move on. Let's talk about AEW Full Gear. Have you two spoken about it? I've not been here recently. Quite good, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've spoken about it a little bit.
Yeah, okay. It was quite good. In case,
it was alright, wasn't it? It's not a bad time.
I'll be honest, I've been so ill recently. I checked on Twitter last night that Hangman Page becoming world champion wasn't a fever dream that I'd had.
Yeah.
But yes, let's talk about the tag team title match. It was, of course, the Lucha Bros defending the AEW tag titles against FTR. And if you're thinking, that ending to the match seemed a bit weird. Not necessarily botched, but just
weird.
Yeah, just a bit convoluted.
It's got hair. It's easy to tell the difference between them.
The problem was, according to Fightful Select, Dax Harwood may or may not have been legit knocked out, leading to Cash Wheeler basically having to take the reins from about 10 minutes into that match. Now, there's some more developments with this, with, Ray Phoenix has been accused of working a little bit stiff. There was maybe a little bit of backstage issues off the back of this, with him not necessarily going to check on Dax Harwood. No confirmation that he was officially KO'd, but that does seem to make a lot of sense why it seemed a bit all over the place, that finish. And we've seen, FTR are brilliant. We've seen them before when the roles were reversed going, well, I guess I'll have to take over the rest of this match because Cash Wheeler's arm's falling off.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why Cash had to take everything and then eventually submit. It was meant to be Dax Harwood in that role, but yeah, hopefully he's all right now, and he's no reports on concussions or any ill effects off the back of it. But Yeah, scary stuff, this.
Yeah, for sure. Tony Khan in the post-show scrum was like, yeah, Dax got rocked in the match.
Yeah.
So that would go hand in hand with that. We should point out as well, there's no talk of major heat here between Ray Fiend. It's not like they're all brawling backstage because you didn't check up on my buddy, but it did seem to cause issue with some people backstage. Yeah, that would explain the finish, wouldn't it? It was such a weird, like, vibe-killing finish, really, because you just saw Cash fanning around with a mask and he puts it on and the commentators are going, oh, you can tell the difference. He's got hair. You can see it at the back. And then they didn't. It was a weird time.
And there wasn't that also the match where they were like, oh, who's legal in all this?
Yeah, that was the thing, wasn't it? With the Killer Bee mask spot and stuff. Weird time, but at least this explains it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey.
FTR should have won the titles, in my opinion.
Improvise.
But yeah, they did a great job in what they're doing. And get well soon, Dax.
Get well soon indeed, Uncle Dax. Books! You want to buy some books? You want to buy some books, my friends. What on earth is the address? I say it every day.
WhatCulture.bigcartel.com.
There you go. It's in the description if you're a moron like me and you can't remember it. But we've got a trio of books right there, right now. The first is the brand new release. Michael Sidgwick been working on it all year, putting his sweat into it for a long period of time. It's Becoming All Elite, The Rise of AEW. Get that one. You can get it as part of a bundle as well for a reprint of Sidgwick's previous book, Development Hell, the NXT story. And on top of that, we are reprinting 505 wrestling matches to see before you die. 606. We've added 101.
Oh.
More bang for your buck. That's up there as well. Get them for yourself. Get them for your favorite tree. I don't know. Enjoy them. You order them now, you will get them before Christmas. International shipping is available. Shill done.
No, absolutely. Go and get your hands on them. These 606 matches aren't just the best ones, they're also the worst ones. Andy enjoyed writing about quite a lot.
So bad they're good.
Yeah, and the new AEW book is sensational. Sige has been working really hard on it. WhatCulture.bigcartel.com. And I want to tell you how you can get your hands for the last time on some beers in time for Survivor Series in just a few minutes. But Andy, what's the next story today?
Jeff Hardy's weird, right?
Is that a story?
He's got some wacky ideas.
Yes.
Wacky character ideas. His brand of creativity is so broad, isn't it, Jeff? He's always got a lot of ideas. When he's interviewed, he's always talking about things he would like to see come to life, and that's to his credit, absolutely. But he's done a new interview here with Metro's Alistair McGeorge, talking about some things that he hasn't necessarily pitched to WWE, but he has in his head. Inspired.
Right.
So he's talking here about potentially doing what Wyndham Rotunda did in WWE and kind of balancing Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. But Jeff's going to do it with Willow and something else that I'll get into in a little minute here. So I'll just read the quote here. I think there's something special about Willow. Willow is, of course, the character he brought to life in TNA in 2013. I've written down some ideas. I don't know if they make sense. I've yet to pitch anybody creatively in WWE, so I just need to go in and do that and not hesitate. They might shut it down, but it might be cool. I can't help but think how cool it was when I first witnessed The Fiend and the light shutting down. It was so cool to me. That's my kind of thing too. I was like, man, this is so cool. Now that he's not here anymore, I think there's something really cool Willow could do similar to that. Bray Wyatt, the other side of the coin, to The Fiend, obviously. The other side of the Willow coin in this situation is Bob Ross.
Excuse me?
Jeff Hardy wants to be Bob Ross on WWE television. He said it wouldn't be exactly like that, as in like The Fiend and Bray, but I've even had ideas like a Jeff Ross character. Like I was a painter, a really silly painter, Jeffrey Ross, and then Willow would be my Fiend. So he does say that maybe it's a bit too close to the Firefly Funhouse, but that's cool. That's what's cool about pro wrestling and everything else. Sounds like Jeff's interested in filling the Fiend-shaped void in all of our lives.
I've mixed emotions with this. Don't get me wrong, when The Fiend first arrived, well, first of all, when The Fiend arrived, we were there on that Raw and we went, what was that? Because it was the buzzard in Mercy the buzzard in the box, and we thought it was an advert for a sodding toy.
Yeah.
But subsequent to that, I was fully invested in it, and I thought his debut at SummerSlam was one of the best things that year. It kind of fell off the rails subsequent to that, thanks Goldberg.
Hell in a Cell as well.
Yeah, got Hell in a Cell. And I did like the dynamic though between The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. I didn't read this story before we did it, and I didn't see the Bob Ross thing coming.
Bob
I
Ross.
do like the idea of him, being rolled up and describing it as a happy accident or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that aspect, but there is, like you say, a Fiend-shaped hole in the WWE. And my advice to Jeff would be, if you're going to present this to them, have a toy made up first. Because if you lead with that, they'll do pretty much anything.
Get some merch sorted.
Just go, here's a toy, here's another toy
Here's
that you
a
can
dog.
sell, here's a dog, boom.
Does Bob Ross have a dog?
I think he paints with a dog.
He
sometimes.
paints his dogs.
He paints his dogs.
Very cruel.
Walking canvas. Right, let's conclude by talking a little bit more about Kenny Omega. You guys have been talking about it over the past few days, that injury or injury update following Full Gear. He is, in the words of Michael Sidgwick, pretty bloody thrash. He's been suffering from vertigo and all these selection of injuries. He couldn't lift his shoulder injuries and what have you. Dave Meltzer, though, on a latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, saying he is going to be looked at because of a, quote, litany of things, presumably his shoulders, along with a whole list of other things. He has requested some time off, but he was very insistent that he was going to take that eventually after putting Hangman Page over, dropping the title to him. You guys talked about this the other day. I still watch the news even when I'm not on it. I know you guys said that he's done the right thing, but it maybe is the perfect time right now for him to take some time off and come back, maybe as a babyface. And I know you've tweeted as well, saying that there's not exactly going to struggle for storylines with the Elite in the interim.
No, exactly. Like now would be a good time for him to slink away for a little bit, and if he needs to, take that time to recover and everything else. He's lost the belt. You can do so many cool things with Adam Cole ascending in leadership, and maybe Kevin Steen comes in a few months. Who the hell knows? There's a lot you can do. We'll see what happens when he gets examined today. I suspect we'll have more news on this later in the week. If not here, then on the website.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a bad time for him to just go away for a bit.
Just it makes all that match even more impressive when you think of all the things he's not only suffering from, but the fact he's wrestling with vertigo. Wouldn't wish that on anyone. But yes, get well soon, Kenny. And I think the right time right now to take some time up, put his feet up. I know he doesn't drink. Maybe have a beer if he wants to. Speaking of beers, look at that as a segue.
There you go.
If you want to get your hands on some beers for Survivor Series, or Survivor Beeries as we are calling it today, for our UK viewers only, is the last day you can order them in time for Survivor Series. 12 delicious craft beers. We drink them on the stream all the time. They are fantastic. £45 all in. And if you enter the code, here's why. We should have had beers why, but we'll try that for next time. Here's why at checkout. You get free delivery on that, £45. These are great beers, Andy.
Yeah, tremendous beers from a tremendous bunch of lads. Last day today, get those order in, or I will fight you. I won't, I'm a pacifist, but there you go.
There's a link in the description. It's due to our friends at Top Rope Brewing, celebrating 5 years and Survivor Series. It's a Top Rope versus WhatCulture thing. Get into it, get involved. Like I said, link in the description. Here's why at checkout. Do it now. Today's the last day you can. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Jared Forbner, who says, good morning, legends. Do you think a way to start t-shirt time better, I think he means like Survivor Series, is to have the draft start the night after, and whichever brand wins gets 2 straight picks? At least then we have people who've been on the show defending the show.
Yeah, I'll just echo what I said yesterday, kind of. Yeah, they have to do the draft after the show. There's no sense whatsoever in doing it 3 or 4 weeks before, because then it comes around, I've only been on this show for 2 weeks and I'm supposed to fight for brand. It doesn't make any damn sense. It's Robbie Keane stuff. My childhood brand, WWE Raw. Yeah, this is a good way to do it. There's a litany of ways you can add stakes to Survivor Series. You gotta do it before the draft, and you gotta give some kind of meaning to the outcome.
Or do the draft months before. Just basically don't do the draft when you do it.
Yeah.
Any other time is preferable. But
do it after WrestleMania if you have to. Just do something. Don't be weird. Stop being weird.
Either after Survivor Series or months before. And yeah, put some stakes on it. Whether it be this, whether it be, I know a lot of people have suggested stuff around the Royal Rumble. I think it makes a lot more sense than just we won and we're blue, or whatever it may be. Steve Smith says, morning gents, who do you think the final members of the SmackDown Survivor Series teams will be? I'm going for Postman Pierce and Sonya Deville.
I have no idea, and I don't think they do either.
No.
This stuff is just impossible to invest in, I think. Like, I'm sure there'll be good matches on this pay-per-view. There always is. WWE's a pretty good pay-per-view company. Like, at worst, some of the pay-per-views this year have been very, very good indeed. But I think it's impossible to pick. I think it's a total coin flip, so I'll go for a parking cone and a steel chair.
Okay, it was Sami Zayn and Aaliyah who got kicked off, I believe, on SmackDown.
More people are going to get kicked off of it. You're right.
I'm struggling, I'm going to be honest. But I'm going to go...
tested negative, by the way.
Yeah, I'm all good. I tested positive for being an absolute legend. That's what I'm going to go with, Naomi and Von Wagner. Because he's got heart.
He got an opportunity.
He saw an opportunity to jump right on
couple.
the cow.
Oh, here we go. Couple 12-ounce curls. Is this 12 ounces? I don't know.
12, Top Row Brewing, it's great, whatever it is. Let's move on to our final
12
question
ounces,
of the day.
but 24 carat, eh?
Look at
There
this.
you go.
Mark Solid says, Morning Legends, thoughts on anytime WWE is going to release a main talent, they do a loser leaves match with either Roman so he can talk or someone who they are trying to build up.
Ooh, situational, 100% situational. I think if it's someone who's leaving or is coming to the end of their contract, like Bryan Danielson, that's a good way to do it because it's an amicable parting of ways. Lose on your way out. That's the way wrestling has always worked. But I think if you were to turn somebody getting cut because of budget cuts or whatever other reason, that would be extremely cruel, really poor taste, and something don't turn that into a story. That's not good.
And also, it would kind of burn through the stipulation considering the amount of people who have released it every week. If I lose, I'm going to leave. Oh, you lost again. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you later, mate. No.
Yeah, I get where they're coming from with that, and I think the Bryan Danielson thing worked, and it only didn't really work as well as they'd hoped because people don't believe it anymore, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't think that a jobber from the 24/7 division saying if I lose against Roman Reigns, I'm going to quit would
Just
sell
cruel,
any more tickets.
Really cruel.
Yeah.
No, I'm not into that. Me personally.
Let's move on to today's and finally though, and sort of stepping on your toes here because the H today, Andy Murray, stands for Happy National Cowboy Day. It's been announced by AEW that today, celebrating the fact that Hangman Page is your new AEW World Champion. He's going to be celebrating in his hometown on Dynamite tonight. It has been declared National Cowboy Day. My calendar is filling up. Rusev Day, National Cowboy Day.
Christmas night out. All over the place. Did you see
excited.
the statement that Hangman Page released?
I did. Was that the big page of Hangman Page's page?
Doesn't want anything to do with Wardlow and his big muscle tits. So,
I mean,
that's a quote, by the way.
That's a direct quote, and I would completely understand it.
You said that on TV last year.
Yeah. Well, let us know your thoughts on that and Wardlow's tits on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. Well, actually, they can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at...
Yeah, you can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for he's already said one, so go away.
Happy National Cowboy Day. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. Like, share, subscribe. Click on the links in the description. Get those books, get those beers, and subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts, of course. Reviewing NXT 2.0, just 2.0 for the time being.
Yeah, not with
and
that voice, mate.
Previewing AEW Dynamite a little bit later on today. But for now, this has been the news. My thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.